Hello everyone and welcome back to the Football Chuggu Podcast. My name is Thomas Durning and today I'm joined by my co-host Pearse McLaughlin. Hello Pearse.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing well. On today's podcast we'll be reacting to last weekend's English Premier League results. We'll be reacting to the Scottish League Cup results. We'll also be discussing the news coming out of the Ballon ceremony. Previewing the two Scottish teams that are in Europa League this week. And at the end of the podcast, Pearse will begin a rundown of all the latest Asian football news. So, as always, we'll start off with the English Premier League results. So, on Saturday, the 20th of September, the results finished Liverpool 2, Everton 1, Burnley 1, Nottingham Forest 1, West Ham 1, Crystal Palace 2, Wolves 1, Leeds United 3, Brighton 2, Tottenham 2, Man United 2, Chelsea 1, Fulham 3, Brentford 1. And then on Sunday, the 21st of September, it was Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 0, Sunderland 1, Aston Villa 1, and Arsenal 1, Man City 1. So, Pearse, which match stands out to you the most?
Well, I'm going to go for the Man United 2, Chelsea 1, just because of it. Traditionally, it's a big clash. And obviously, Man United, they needed a win. They got a win, surprisingly, because Chelsea have been pretty decent this season so far. And obviously, Man United have had Man United problems. But they get two early goals the first half. Robert Sanchez is sent off for a horrendous challenge on Brian Mbeumo. It's just ridiculous. I don't know why he was coming in that high. And then Casemiro does what Casemiro does. Gets two. He just snaps two players in the first half. You get sent off as well. So it's 10v10. Chelsea get back in it late on with Chalobah with a free header. And then you're thinking, Man United could throw this away here. And they managed to cling on for the much needed win. But I thought if Man United lost that match, I think Ruben Amorim might have been given the sack. But it was a much needed victory for Man United. And I thought just that was important. The importance of obviously Man United getting a much needed victory. And obviously Bruno Fernandes providing one of the goals and a really good captain's performance. But I thought that was probably the standout result for me.
My standout result is Arsenal 1, Man City 1. Sort of a top of the table clash. These teams have a bit of rivalry now. Been quite a lot of it's quite a fierce match when they come up against each other now. But in the first half, Man City went 1-0 up at half time. Arsenal didn't play well in the first half. I think Arteta chose the wrong team. And the criticism Arteta's getting, and he's been getting it a long time now, that he's picking a team that are too sort of conservative and he thinks more about the opposition than he does his own team. Man City win 1-0 up at half time through a Haaland goal. Then the second half, at half time, Arteta made changes to the team. He brought on Eze. I think it was Saka brought on as well. And the game changed. And it was in the second half, it was literally all Arsenal. They didn't create much really. Man City decided to just sit in a back five and not move really. It was weird to see Guardiola setting up a team like that. Never seen that from Guardiola. Usually that's a Mourinho sort of thing to do, but Guardiola decided to go that way. So Arsenal had all the ball the second half. Didn't create anything really until the last minute when Martinelli managed to lob Donnarumma and snatch a draw for Arsenal. So it didn't live up to the hype that I thought it was going to be. But a draw, I think both teams will take. I think Arsenal will be more disappointed considering that they were at home, and I think they've got a lot more to prove this season than Man City, because obviously Arsenal are very close to winning something big, aka the league title, but they just can't seem to be getting over the line. And it's these sort of games that they're tripping themselves up because they're not really managing to claim the victories. So yeah, I will be honest. This weekend, the Premier League, it wasn't really no games really were um, you know, that big. Really, obviously, I had the Merseyside derby, which ended 2-1 to Liverpool. That was quite unexpected. And obviously the one you said, Man United Chelsea. That was quite a big game as well. So yeah, so that's the English Premier League covered. So we'll move on to the Scottish League Cup quarter-final matches. So we'll start off on Friday the 19th of September. So it finished Kilmarnock 2, St Mirren 2, and St Mirren won 5-3 on penalties to send themselves to the semi-final. On Saturday, the 20th of September, it was Rangers 2, Hibs 0. And then on Sunday, the 21st of September, sorry, I missed a game Saturday. I missed another game on Saturday. It was Aberdeen 0, Motherwell 1 as well. So that was on Saturday, Motherwell and Rangers got themselves into the semi-final. And then on Sunday, the 21st of September, the last quarter-final match of the weekend finished Partick Thistle 0, Celtic 4. So we now know the semi-final. But just before we talk about the semi-final, Pearse, was there a match there in the quarter-finals that stood out to you?
Yeah, Partick Thistle 0, Celtic 4. Just in terms of the performance overall. And it's the first time I've seen a Glasgow derby of Thistle versus Celtic at Firhill for quite a wee while. So it was quite an interesting tie, and obviously Mark Wilson's done pretty good in the Championship this season, been high flying, probably favourites for automatic promotion or playoffs at least. And obviously they're doing that with a minuscule budget. And obviously there's a bumper crowd there, which is good for the home side because that means it keeps the club afloat. Basically, when you get either side of Old Firm going to like these smaller grounds, like they sell out, and it provides some great revenue for the club. But in terms of the actual match itself, I thought Thistle defended well, threw bodies on the line, but just the quality of some of Celtic's play was scintillating at the time, especially the new boy Sebastian Tenetke. We talked about him last week in the podcast. I thought he was unbelievable. Again, he just so direct. For me, he's like a carbon copy of Jota in terms of he can go either way, left, right. He can run in behind. He can come short. He can link up the play. And the pick of the bunch of the goals was his goal where he linked up. He cut inside, linked up with Ian Atchell, and then volleyed it in the bottom right hand corner. I thought he was one of the star players. Thought obviously Nygren again. He just without really blowing up too many flowers. I don't know if that's the right saying, but pulling up too many trees. But he's just consistently getting like goals, assists, and considering he only cost 1.2, 1.3 million, I think he's been a really good signing for Celtic this season. I think obviously they'll build up momentum, and obviously they'll now be looking forward to Glasgow derby in the semi-final.
Yeah, my standout match is Rangers 2, Hibs 0. Obviously, going into that match for Rangers, Russell Martin was under a humongous amount of pressure. I think if Hibs, that was probably Russell Martin's game to save his job, really. I think if he'd have lost that, he would have lost his job. So that was how much pressure there was. Obviously, before the match, there was a lot of protest against the manager and against the Rangers board. So it must have been uncomfortable for the players knowing that the fans weren't in the greatest mood before this match. But the match started. Hibs took a lead, and then it got disallowed for VAR. It was Martin Boywood handled it apparently, and yeah, and then they took the lead through Raskin, who was reintroduced into the side. Obviously, we've known this summer that him and Russell Martin have had their disagreements. and then Bojan scored just before half time, so it was 2-0 Rangers at half time, and then they managed to ride out the second half well. But yeah, I think Russell Martin was quite pleased because he said that Rangers had put in a much better performance. It was much more of a team that he wants to play. So yeah, Rangers will be hoping that they can build on that, and there'll be for Russell Martin, it'll be a huge sigh of relief because when we've talked about it on the podcast, but about the amount of pressure he was under, obviously due to the bad start to the season they've had, but they've managed to secure this one, and they'll be hoping that they can build from that. And then obviously, yeah, you touched on Celtic there as well. So that's the quarter final done. So we'll talk about the semi final previews. So we now know the semi final of the Scottish League Cup. So it'll be Celtic versus Rangers at Hampden, and Motherwell versus St Mirren at Hampden. So you're looking forward to them two ties, Pearse. And who do you think will get to the final?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it'll be really exciting ties. Obviously, we'll touch on St Mirren and Motherwell first. I think St Mirren again. They've won 2 back-to-back penalty shootouts, and Stephen Robinson has always got a really hard to beat side, high energy, good play for set pieces. Just a really tough side, well organised. You know what you're going to get with them. And Motherwell caused an upset by beating Aberdeen at the weekend. And then it was Regan Charles Cook. We touched on it, and you touched on it deadline day when he signed. It's his first go back to Scottish football, so I think he'll be a good signing for him. And I think, yeah, could go either way. Like, I think if I'm going to, it's a cup semi-final. It's a Hampden. Like, form goes out the window in any cup competition. And I think if I'm going to edge towards it, I'd probably edge towards St Mirren just because of the form that they've shown in the past couple of seasons in terms of guaranteed top 6 finishes, and Stephen Robinson was punching above his weight. So and I think Motherwell's are going along nicely, but if I had to throw my body in the line, it would be for Stephen Robinson. I think Alex Gogic epitomises that. So I think I'm going to edge towards St Mirren making the Scottish Cup League Cup final. Sorry, and in terms of the other tie, which is obviously Celtic versus Rangers, obviously it has to be a lot better than the last game at Ibrox, which was atrocious from both sides. Both sides didn't want to lose. I think there was one shot on target from both teams, and it was you could barely even attempt. It was more a pass. So I think it should be a big blockbuster tie. Whether Russell Martin's in the hot seat that time, we'll never know. Time will tell. But if I'm going to put my neck on the line, I'd edge towards Celtic, even though Celtic haven't had the greatest record recently against Rangers. Obviously not winning the last few league meetings. So, but I think obviously Brendan Rodgers' record at Hampden speaks for itself. He's only lost once, and that was last season, the cup final to Aberdeen. So yeah, I'm going to edge towards Celtic in that one.
Yeah, I agree with what you've just said there. Semi-final, Motherwell St Mirren. Two teams that will obviously be glad to be playing at Hampden. Both teams have started well this season. I really like the way Motherwell plays well. I think under their new manager, I think it looks really good on the eye. But I just think St Mirren will edge that. Just the manager that they've got, the experience. Yeah, I just think I can see St Mirren and Stephen Robinson. He's been to a few finals in the League Cup with Motherwell, and he's always came up against Celtic in these finals, so he kind of knows how to navigate himself into finals. So yeah, I just think the experience of Stephen Robinson will be enough to guide St Mirren into that final. And then Celtic Rangers, again, they play a semi-final at Hampden. As you said, it also has to be better than the last match because that was of very poor quality. It's all and at the moment, I'll say Celtic will go through just in terms of the form of Celtic and then the form of Rangers. But at the end of the day, for both matches, it is a final. It is a semi-final. Sorry, both teams will be desperate. The 4 teams, sorry, will be desperate to get to the final. So I'm really looking forward to to seeing how these two teams pan out. And yeah, so that's us previewed the Scottish League Cup. And then just lastly, just before we move on to Ballon d'Or, Pearse, Celtic and Rangers are playing in the Europa League this week. Celtic playing Red Star Belgrade away from home, and Rangers are playing Ghent at home at Ibrox. So, how do you think two teams will do in the ties, Pearse?
I'll touch on Celtic first. They're playing Red Star Belgrade away from home. One of the most hostile atmospheres in Europe. The fans have got cages and stuff like that, so I think it's going to be really hostile. And there's actually a South Korean fullback that plays from called Hyeon-Gyu. Was signed from Ulsan last year. Really good fullback, starting right back for South Korea. So I know them very well, and obviously they used to have Hwang In-beom last season, who then transferred to Feyenoord. So I know a little bit about them. I think they're really excited. They're the reigning champions at the moment. So yeah, it won't be an easy tie. I think Celtic were lucky to get a draw, because obviously in terms of the quality of opposition, and obviously the atmosphere, and obviously away in Europe is always tough to get a result. I think avoiding defeat would be a positive result for Celtic. And in terms of Ross and Martin, Belgian side Ghent. Is it Ghent or Genk?
It is Genk.
Genk?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's Hyeon-Gyu, former Celtic striker. Genk.
Oh, yeah, the striker, yeah.
He's been banging the goals in for them. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one. I think similar. I think Rangers will. I think they'll just take a draw. I know they're at home, but in terms of the form that they've been in, I think you just have to try avoid defeat and maybe try and nick it somehow. Because I think the way Rangers are playing, they're not playing particularly great, but the result of the weekend against Hibs will give them some confidence getting into the game. And obviously the reintroduction of Raskin that you mentioned, I think that will give them hopefully a new lease of life. But yeah, I think if Celtic Rangers at least get a draw a piece, then I think that's a good start to the campaign for both of them.
Yeah. Red Star Belgrade versus Celtic, as you said. Celtic away from home, going to a very hostile atmosphere, an experienced European side in European competitions. So it'll be a tough game for Celtic. Celtic will be home to go off to a good start as well. But I think I've got a feeling that game will end a draw. I just see a draw in that match happening. Two teams that are of very similar quality, I think. But obviously Celtic, if they get any aspirations of getting out into the knockout stages of the Europa League, they have to go to these places and win. But I just think that game will end in a stalemate. I'm really looking forward to that one. And then obviously Rangers versus Genk, Rangers at Ibrox. You always fancy Rangers in Europe. I don't know what in Europa League especially. They just leave their best performances for the Europa League. I just think that I think they'll win that one. I think that one in the weekend will give them that confidence boost. Give the players more confidence, and I just think Rangers will have a bit too much for Genk, but I definitely wouldn't rule them out because obviously, as you said, Hyeon-Gyu, as we know from Celtic, he's been a really good player for them, and he actually nearly left to go to Stuttgart on deadline day, but that move fell through in the last stages. So
yeah, that was because apparently there was something to do with his knee. Basically, the medical his knee, and then he then went and scored the next, I think, like 3 days later for South Korea, and he was tapping his knee as a celebration, basically saying there's nothing wrong with his knee.
No, nothing wrong with it. Yeah.
But that was
interesting.
That was meant to be a €28 million transfer fee, which obviously the Celtic would have got some sort of selling. But he's a very good striker, and obviously if he's getting coveted by Stuttgart are a Champions League side now. So yeah, so I think it'll be a tough tie.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll now move on to the Ballon d'Or. So we had the Ballon d'Or ceremony yesterday. So we now know the winner of. So basically, if nobody knows, the Ballon d'Or, basically you nominate who the best main player is and the best football player is of the year. It's a highly prestigious competition for the players. The likes of Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi have won it numerous times. So yeah, so we found out yesterday that for the men, the Ousmane Dembele, the PSG forward, won the Ballon d'Or. So he is now technically the best player in the world at this moment. He was the best player in the world for last season as well. So yeah, Ousmane Dembele. Pearse, I'll just ask you about if you think what do you think about Ousmane Dembele winning the Ballon d'Or? But just before I do, I'll give you the top 10 players that got into the top 10 Ballon d'Or, basically. So at number 10, it was Nuno Mendes. Number 9, Gianluigi Donnarumma. Number 8, Cole Palmer. Number 7, Kylian Mbappe. Number 6, Achraf Hakimi. Number 5, Rafinha. Number 4, Mohamed Salah. Number 3, Vitinha. Number 2, Lamine Yamal. And as I said, number 1, Ousmane Dembele. So a lot of PSG players in there as well. So yeah, Pearse, what do you think? Ousmane Dembele winning the Ballon d'Or?
I think it's thoroughly deserved. I thought he was the most decisive player and exciting player that I watched last season, especially in the Champions League. Winning PSG's first ever Champions League, I thought he was one of the most exciting, talented players. And I think finally he lived up to the early promise that he once had at Dortmund, and he then got his big move to Barcelona. And when he was at Barcelona, he had an injury-plagued time. But the thing is, we always knew he had the dribbling ability, but it was always his end product. And I think he's now at the age of 28. He's now won the Ballon d'Or, and I think he is the best player in the world at the moment. Just in terms of he can go either way. He's powerful. He creates goals. He scores goals. And the fact is that PSG won everything, and they were a really exciting team to watch. And I think if anyone watched football as a neutral last year, PSG were exciting to watch under Luis Enrique. And the main man that started that was Ousmane Dembele. He was the captain. He was the main man. He was the one that started the press. You've seen the way he pressed and the way he just led the attack. It was unbelievable. I think the only thing for me is I don't agree with the Ballon d'Or is Lamine Yamal should not be coming second. I think for me, brilliant player, but I think Rafinha should have came second. Rafinha was the top goal scorer in the Champions League. He was the top assist in the Champions League. He get 22 goals in all competitions. He get 25 assists. Lamine Yamal get 9 goals and 11 assists. Like, those are not stats that are worthy of coming second, considering if anything, you would put Vitinha higher than Lamine Yamal, because I thought Vitinha, for me, was unbelievable in that middle of the park for PSG and integral for Portugal in the Nations League win as well in the middle of the park. I think phenomenal footballer. I think Lamine Yamal will win the Ballon d'Or at some stage in his career, but just because he's good and he's a youngster doesn't mean you should just elevate him higher. The stats don't lie. Rafinha was Barcelona's most important player last season, and he should have been higher on the list. He was 3 places below Lamine Yamal, and that's the one thing I don't agree with. But in terms of the Ballon d'Or, Ousmane Dembele, thoroughly deserved. And yeah, I'm glad to see him win it and finally overcome those injury issues that he had at Barcelona.
Yep, I totally agree. He always had the potential to win a Ballon d'Or. Obviously, as you said, he's had injuries in his career. Didn't work out for him at Barcelona. We all thought would it happen for him, and PSG just seems to have happened. It was definitely brilliant last season, especially in the Champions League. Not just on the ball, but off the ball as well. You just noticed how hard he would work off the ball in terms of his pressing and stuff. And Luis Enrique has definitely found the Ousmane Dembele that everybody wants to know. So yeah, fully deserved for me. He was the one I wanted to win it. I agree with what you're saying about Lamine Yamal. bit of controversy with him coming second. He did win the young player, which I think he is deserved of. But there is a debate where a Rafinha maybe could be in that spot, whereas coming second in Lamine Yamal. But it is what it is, and I don't really read too much into these sort of lists. In my opinion, I don't really know how you can judge a player in lists. I don't know. So
these things are very
yeah,
political.
yeah, I think it's a wee bit as well. So just before we move on, so as I said, Lamine Yamal won the young player, and Bon Mati won the women's player Ballon d'Or. She plays for the Spanish women's team, and I don't know. I've seen little bits of her before. She's a centre mid, but she's a brilliant player. Very good technique, very good controlling the ball, good passing. So yeah, that one's deserved as well. I think she's won it a lot now, so she's definitely the best women's player in the
Yeah,
world.
but the thing with Barcelona, like their team,
Barcelona, so she plays for. Yeah, yeah,
Barcelona. I don't know if you know about Barcelona in the women's league, in the women's game.
yeah. They're just head and shoulders.
Record Champions League winners. They win the league every
Yeah,
year, and usually every season they luckily if they usually they win every game and maybe get one defeat. That's how dominant they are, even over Real Madrid.
yeah,
Because Barcelona fully invest into their team, whereas a lot of obviously women's football isn't obviously doesn't get big crowds, doesn't get the sponsorship money the same as the men. So, but Barcelona go on and they completely dominate women's football, and I think it's sort of deserved for her as well.
yeah. I agree. So for the final part of the show, Pearson will give his Asian football roundup.
Yeah, so we'll start off with some K League One action. So on Saturday, the 20th September, we had Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors 1, Gimcheong Sangwoo 2, Daejeon Ha Citizen 3, Daegu FC 2, and then Sunday, the 21st of September, Suwon FC 1, Gangwon FC 0, Ulsan HDFC 0, FC Anyang 0, SC Seoul 3, Gwangju FC 0, Long Steelers 1, Jeju SK 0. So it's looking the table looking like this. Jeonbuk on top, 66 points for 30 games. Gimcheong in second at 49. And then just below them, you've got Daejeon Ha Citizen and Pong Steelers both on 48. Separated with just 3 goals, so it's really tight in terms of second to fourth. But it's only a matter of time before Jeonbuk and Gus Poyet win the K League One. In terms of the bottom half of the table, Daegu, rock bottom, 22 points, minus 22 goal difference, 9 points cut adrift. I think it's good. It's good night Vienna for them in terms of K League One. And then also Jeju and Suwon 11th and 10th with 31 points and 34 points. Still got a fighting chance, but they need to start putting up results soon if they want to avoid the relegation playoffs. So J League One, we've got Saturday 20th September, Nagoya Grampus 3, Shonan Bramari 1, Tokyo Verde 4, Fagiano Okayama FC 2, Yokohama FC 1, Alberts Nagata 0, Cerezo Osaka 1, Kashiriso 1, Kawasaki Frontale 0, FC Tokyo 1, Kyoto Sanga FC 0, Shimizu S Pulse 0, Ura Diamonds 0, Cash Antlers 1, Yokohama Mariners 2, Avisha Fukuoka 0. And so all the games are played on the Saturday, and there was games played tonight as well. So in terms of the K League One, the J League One table, so top of the table we've got Cash Antlers on 58 points, and then we've got second and third place both on 55 points, and that is Kyoto Sanga and Kashiriso, separated by just the 7 goals, and then Vissel Kobe, last season champions and season 4 champions, so looking for their third title in a row. They're in 54 points in 4th place. And then 5th and 6th, we've got Machida Zelvia and Sanfrecce Hiroshima, both on 51 points and both on a plus 14 goal difference. So 6 sides are set by just 7 points, and it's extremely tight. And I think there are many more twists and turns at the top of the table, and you can't call a winner at this stage of the season. In terms of the bottom half of the table, we've got Alberts Nagata, rock bottom, 20th place with 20 points. Shoreby Murray 19th on 25 points. Yokohama FC in the final relegation playoff place in 18th and 27 points. And just in relegation places, we've got Yokohama F Mariners on 28 points. In terms of other Asian football news, J2 league side, Red Bull Omiya Ardea have announced the appointment of Stuart Webber as the club's new head of sport. And the KFA has confirmed that Hyeon-Gyu, 33, currently playing his trade in Turkey with Aliyanaspor, was convicted under the Act of Special Cases concerning the punishment of sexual crimes, and is not eligible for national team selection under its regulations, and will also be barred from registering as a player or coach in Korea for the next 20 years. And that is all your latest Asian football news.
Thank you, Pearse, and thank you everyone for listening to this episode of the Football Chuggu Podcast. This podcast will be available to listen to on the Football Chuggu YouTube channel and also the Football Chuggu website. Thanks for listening and see you soon.
Bye-bye.